me a second. It's playing. Boop 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 do 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 do. Great intro.
Brilliant intro.
I hate not being in charge. This
Tough
is
shit.
messing with me so
Right.
much.
This is the Line Break podcast back from whoever knows how long, and we're going to be discussing lots of fantastic stuff. I'm a really crap moderator, by the way, Sav. With me today are me, who is Wallopy or Joe or Ed, depending on whatever, and Sav. Say hello, Sav.
Hello, Sav. I'm here.
And say hello,
I'm
Fred
kind
Line.
of worried. Yeah.
You're
Go on,
one
Fred.
good shit. I don't care. Say hello, Fred.
Oh, hello.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Fred.
Yeah, that's what I got.
That's all right. It doesn't matter. First on the agenda.
Right,
I reckon
yeah, exactly. Should we start talking about some rugby, or are we
we
still in the
probably
Euro?
should.
Rugby. Well, I'm watching the Euros, but yeah, go on.
Well, I've got the rugby
All right,
on.
forget
but
the
there's no
Euro.
match on.
Let's start. So, yeah, you go
CC
on.
isn't here to defend himself at the moment, so we could have just a few minutes of absolutely slagging off how shite Wales have been while they played the Chiefs.
Oh, well,
Might be a bit unfair.
well, the thing is, I thought we were going to do a podcast where I talk about how awesome Wales were on Saturday, and
Oh
then
yeah, by all
yesterday
means,
happened.
you can.
Or this
start
morning, wherever that was.
So yeah, so Fred, you've been chatting a lot about everybody wanting to. Well, you've been chatting about how you want to talk about the Welsh being amazing, and then we put this podcast off so long that the Welsh ended up being shit again.
Exactly. So,
And all of my
I-
dreams came true.
I don't
But
even
not
know
really.
what to say about Wales now. It's like they play for 70 minutes of brilliant rugby against New Zealand, and then you know they get Stephen Donald.
I'd like to make the point that quite a lot of teams can play amazing rugby for 70 or 60 to 70 minutes against New Zealand. Like they really can. A lot of teams can, but nobody lasts a full 80.
We
I
once
mean
did.
that's the difference. But in the end, the score was a bit ridiculous, not really showing what the game was like. Because if you see what was it, 39 points for New Zealand in the end, it didn't look like a 39-point game.
Oh, I think it did.
So I kind of think that the points do. You know, I
think it's
I
quite
think that the
fair.
Welsh survived for 60 to 70 minutes, more than survived. They played well, and then they had nothing left in the tank and got run.
No, exactly, because they're not used to the pace that they played. It seemed like they played without any real pressure because no one expected them to do anything.
But that's what New Zealand is so good at.
And the Chiefs game proved
They'll
right.
wait for any
But
team
I
to get
saw-
to
I
60
saw-
or 70 minutes and then just turn the screw. And so, while yes, Wales did play extremely well for the first 40 and commendably for the next 20 minutes, the final 20 just, although they are one of the fittest
Yeah.
teams, they just didn't have it compared to New Zealand. And so, while they're all breathing through their arses, New Zealand still have it in them to run tries in at the death.
If New Zealand are in touch, you're fucked because they are truly the best last 10-minute team. Like I think it's Cruden has lost one game of rugby for the All Blacks in which he played 10 minutes,
And that was against
and that
England.
was against England.
And what I will say about
but
that
he
match,
played 10 minutes of it.
Well, no-
So I mean, when he's on the pitch, you don't
Yeah.
expect them.
Well, no, but I mean
to
about
lose,
that match.
so-
It is as England did win that match. New Zealand was still playing throughout the full 80. They scored their last try, I think, in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So while England were capable then, New Zealand still chase whoever they're playing right until the very end. Whereas
Oh, yeah.
everyone else kind of can't manage it.
Yeah, as in, I mean, we all agree it's not new. New Zealand scored all of their points in the last 10 minutes when people are fucked, and they've got tons
run
in
and
the
run.
tank because they've not been putting that much effort during the game because everything's easy to them, which is a bit ridiculous to us.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say they're not put effort in, but
No,
yes,
not
it has
not the
been-
same. Like if you want to, if you're Wales and they're playing at the same level as New Zealand for 40 minutes. They're not. It doesn't take them the same level of energy.
Yeah, no, well, they're more conditioned for the style. But I tell you what, they did say, so quite a few of the New Zealanders did say that they came off the pitch saying that Test rugby was an obvious step up and the speed was slightly quicker than they were expecting. Not to say that they were unable, and obviously they're conditioned to play it.
Yeah,
but
I think-
there's at least a little bit of recognition that was a step up of rugby.
Yeah, I think you're mentioning Kano, who said that he was playing Super Rugby, but to be fair, he plays Super Rugby for the Blues, so it's a step up.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah,
I tell you what, the Blues every season they seem to be all right, and then they just not that great.
Yeah, they're never that terrible, but
Yeah. Anyway, go on.
yeah, it's
Yeah, so Wales is just too weird because they played really well. I mean, it was such an enjoyable game. I didn't watch it live. I watched it after that, in the afternoon, and no, it was just brilliant. I actually really enjoyed that. So then I was really surprised this morning when I saw that I forgot about the Chiefs game. I thought it was at the weekend, and I just saw the highlights and I couldn't believe it.
It was an absolute
By the way,
slaughter.
the stream doesn't appear to be working.
What do you mean?
As in, like, I'm watching it and it says stream health, video output low. YouTube is not retrieving enough video to maintain smooth streaming.
Right.
Just a heads up there. We're not live as you would wish to be.
Well,
Yeah, we are live.
Oh, maybe it's just me that can't view it.
Yeah, we
really
are live.
hope so.
Okay, fine.
Stop knocking my. Okay, this is
It does say low. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't cheering against Wales for that match. I was full on cheering for them. I was excited to see them play so well, and I suspect I have noticed it doesn't happen, or it happens fairly frequently that New Zealand gets scored against before they score, and I've noticed that with quite a few teams in that England and Wales and Scotland in the last few games they've played, New Zealand gets scored against first, and then suddenly they become this wholly different animal, and it's like poking an angry animal with a stick while it's trapped in the corner.
Yeah, a lot of teams think that putting a 5 or 7 points on New Zealand is really good, and it takes them 2 minutes and two phases to score another one.
Not nearly enough of a buffer.
Yeah, it's nowhere near enough against them.
But I was thrilled with how well. I mean, despite the loss, I thought they played absolutely fantastically on Saturday, and then to see them get just demolished against the Chiefs was. I mean, the Chiefs played exceptionally well, but while supporting Wales, I didn't find it a particularly fun game to watch because it was. I mean, I know that it wasn't Wales' first team, but it also wasn't the Chiefs' first team, and so the fact that
I was going to say it was
both
nowhere near
sides,
their first team.
both sides have a lot of players who either haven't played together, have hardly played any rugby at all in the season, or what. Because I think there was one player on the Chiefs team who'd played 10 minutes of Super Rugby all season. But the fact that they had so much more fluidity in them, so much more cohesion in their team to absolutely kick an international side, even if that international side wasn't full strength, you'd expect them to perform slightly better. Because it was, I think, 3 years ago when France toured New Zealand, they scored 38-15 against the Blues. England scored 38-7 against the Crusaders. But Wales come along and just get steamrolled.
Yeah, they get steamrolled by a team that's it's a midweek game. It's nowhere near the Chiefs. I mean, they've got what 5-6 All Blacks at the very least.
Oh no, that Chiefs side
and then
was
missing
about a dozen of their regular starters. They were missing every one of their players who was in the All Blacks camp. Every player a couple of their players I think are out for sevens.
They had quite a few injuries.
And so it's the fact that it
as
was
well. So they didn't have Charlie Natai out of injury. Didn't have Sonny Bill Williams because he was at the sevens, and they didn't have Cruden or crap. What's the name of the seven? I keep forgetting.
Not Kane, the other one.
Well, basically, yeah, exactly. They were just missing all their best players, and except for Stephen Donald, obviously.
Obviously. But it was. I'd like to see them bounce back, but quite frankly, I think. I mean, everyone says that Wales are slow starters.
Wales.
Yeah, everyone says that
Wales
are
slow
starters.
It's going to be so difficult to bounce back.
But they've had the game against England, where, granted, they lost them, but everyone says they're slow starters, so the more they play, the more they gel, the more cohesive they get. And so you'd expect them to play better and better as the tour goes on. But the same is true for New Zealand, and they've already had their one test, and that seems to be more than enough to have gotten all the cobwebs blown off. And so, while Wales may be in better form come this Saturday, they may also be slightly demoralised, while New Zealand will be not just raring to go, but perhaps after last week and after Tuesday, looking to put a cricket score against them, perhaps.
I think they will. Unless Wales start really, really well the game, they're going to get hammered.
I thought it was a possibility that Wales would lose all 4 matches, and when it finally happened that they lost against the Chiefs, I didn't feel great about it. And I also think it's a possibility that Wales might go one of their tests getting nilled in a complete whitewash. I am sort of thinking that now they've lost to the Chiefs.
I wouldn't go.
No,
No, I
I,
wouldn't go
I
that
think
far.
well, it happened to Ireland 4 years ago, but it's the fact that they lost in such a fashion to the Chiefs. I think their pride will. If
It'll
nothing
help.
else,
Yeah,
it
it'll
will.
help.
There's no chance anymore of them getting nothing on the scoreboard for a full 80. They're going to try and avenge, I suppose, that loss.
Charlie, are you still in, or are you depressed by the Wales game?
Or he's left because he had to go somewhere, but he hasn't told us. He's still online
Yeah.
apparently.
What a host.
Well, he's not
We'll probably
hosting.
have to cut that, I guess. No, yeah, I know, but you know. Should we move on to Australia England, because that was the biggest
That
game, I
was
guess.
well.
Well,
I would
no,
have said
actually,
that. I don't think it
it's
was, but
pretty
let's.
difficult to say which one was the biggest,
It's. I think.
because they were all amazing.
I figure if we just go chronologically, it'll be fine. So England, Australia is the next one, and that was.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
quite
that's what I
pleased with
put.
it as an English fan. I did get a bit nervous
I
when.
am. I would be if I were you.
What's that?
Um, yeah, I'm saying I would be if France played like that against Australia. I really would be
Yeah,
very,
but
very
it's
happy.
been years and years and years since that
Because
happened.
especially since I'm looking at the game, you think for the first 20, Australia were
Dominant.
came out really well.
Yeah.
They were just playing the classic Australian like running hard style of rugby,
Mm.
just really quick tempo, and it's quite impressive from England that they kept their composure after that, because there were 2 tries down. Even with the missed kicks, it's only 10 points, but it's 10-0.
Yeah.
It's 2 tries. They're getting, they're under a lot of pressure, and yet they think, no, we're still in this. We're not out. And they keep going, and it's quite impressive. And I thought the pack was quite impressive.
Yeah.
The back line, not so much.
I was very worried very often that the
England.
game we were going to just let completely slip away from us, especially with the 2 early tries. But the fact that we fought back in the fashion that we did, especially, I think the pivotal moment was Luther Burrell, who did not have a great first 30 minutes. I think it was 30. I can't remember the last time I've seen a substitution take place in the first half that wasn't due to injury. But
Yeah.
fair play to Eddie Jones for seeing Luther not playing brilliantly, send on George Ford to take up the 10, Owen Farrell to 12, and suddenly our midfield starts to work so incredibly well
Well,
because those two
so,
have been
so that
playing
was
since age grade.
that was actually my biggest question in this game.
Yeah.
That's actually my biggest question in this game is Burrell. So I was thinking, was that a planned move?
I really,
Because
I mean,
it seems like it. It seems to me like the idea behind starting Burrell and not Ford was to put a bit of a warning on Ford to say, we can do this. You can
maybe.
be out.
I mean, Eddie Jones is a very wily
Um,
coach, but I don't think he's quite that wily because to take a player with you and then deliberately, you know, pick him so
no,
that you
because
can sub him off
I
early.
think in the end he wants to play Ford at 10 and Farrell at 12.
Yeah,
I think, and to be fair, it works. Now, Ford's not having a great season, but Farrell at 12 for England has worked ridiculously well under Eddie Jones. Not really before,
yeah.
but it really has worked, and I'm thinking it might be his long-term plan. So that the big question was Burrell. Was he taken out? Because he wasn't having a bad game either. So
But
was he taken out?
he wasn't having a great
Um,
game by any
you
means,
know,
though.
as But I'm thinking, was it a planned move? Did he know? I mean, you can see it at one point. England score. I can't remember which try it is, and you see reaction of the bench, and Danny Kerr just stands up, puts his both arms in the air,
Yeah.
really happy that they scored, and you can see the whole bench standing up except for Burrell.
That's, I yeah
So, and he doesn't look that happy. I mean, he
I
he,
yeah.
he
It
claps his hands,
it's
but
it's
that's
possible
basically
it
it.
was a planned move, but I don't think so. I mean, I'm kind of I mean, even Saints fans on the sub have been saying that he hasn't had the best season, but he played all right, and that was about it against Wales 2 weeks ago. But I think he was there because of, I suppose, maybe lack of options. I'm not sure, but I suppose it would be a very, very canny
Well,
move to deliberately give Ford the kind of,
yeah. So
the
what are
kick up
the
the
other
arse.
options?
Oh Christ!
Because they do have
Other
they do
options
have
at centre.
Slade,
We've got
who is a 13, but or 10, but they could always go for Slade at 12.
Slade would. I'm sure he'd be a great 12 because he's as a playmaker. I think he's spectacular. I
Yeah,
think, but beyond that,
with
we've got.
and their other option, the other 12 is Benteo. So
Yeah, I was going to say.
why take him to Australia
I've got no idea. I
if he's
think
not going to play? So I think he's going to play at some point.
maybe, probably, but yeah, as to say as when. Got no idea. I do
Yeah.
find it a bit
So
odd.
what do you do? Like that's the interesting bit. Is I thought he might be put on for the first game because if you're going to take a little bit of a risk, do it on the first one.
Mm.
That's what I would have done.
I suppose there is always the possibility that the other players are there only as injury cover, and that's not too likely. But if Eddie Jones has this core team that
It
he
is possible.
has,
You're right. Yeah,
then his
it's
plan is
possible
just
that he was planning to use
yeah,
these guys and not the others.
have Ford and Farrell stay as the
And I was
incumbents,
thinking, so
and then
we saw the one of the big questions pre-game was Itoje at 6, because basically some journalists saw them training and he was playing 6. Apparently that's where the rumor came from.
yeah,
So I was thinking that he might just put on Haskell and Robshaw in the first game, and then in the second game put Itoje in the back row and drop either Haskell or Robshaw and play either of them at 7.
yeah.
I thought that would be his initial plan, but people really didn't expect Haskell to have such a good game. So if that was his plan to drop Haskell after that, it probably has changed.
I think the two of them have made themselves undroppable. I mean, I've thought high, especially since he lost his captaincy. Robshaw has been an absolute unit in every game. He's putting in so much more effort from what I can see, and I think that might just be the fact that he no longer has to toe a more careful line along the side of the rules, or the laws. But Haskell, possibly with a point to prove, had his best game in I can't remember how long. And so I think, while I do think, I mean, because
Yeah,
our bench we had no actual specialised back row cover. We had Cruz and Itoje starting, and Laws and Launchbury on the bench. And while Laws and Itoje can both play 6, I'm not at all convinced by Laws at 6 because I've seen it done before, and maybe it was just
no,
Lancaster not using
I'm
him
not at all.
correctly, but I
But
don't
I
think
think
that works.
it was never an option for Eddie
But
Jones.
it's
The option
yeah,
was always Itoje
it's sort of an
because he has
embarrassment of
played
a
6. I mean, he
yeah,
he, he is champion. He is Premiership champion playing 6 last year.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like
So
it's a complete
and funny
embarrassment of
enough,
a
his opposite number in the final is
yeah.
Sam Burgess. That's something else.
What we have, the
Um,
strength in depth we have at lock is, to say the least, absolutely
is
absurd.
is
Because
incredible.
we've got, I mean,
It's incredible. I mean, when
poor.
your 5th or 6th best
Well, no,
slot
that
is Jeff Parton, then
Jeff Partner. No,
you're
no,
fine.
that's the thing. I mean, Dave Atwood was one of our players. I think he played quite prominently in the World Cup. But I mean, we have 2 world-class locks in Laws and Launchbury, and then out of less than a season, we've got Itoje and Cruz coming through, and so the likes of Ed Slater and Dave Atwood are now. I mean, Dave Atwood, I think, is currently playing with the Saxons, which is a shame because he's a
Yeah,
pretty good
he is.
player, but
He's
there's just
starting
no
the next.
place for him in the elite player squad anymore because he's been eclipsed by these 2 behemoths. But as to how they play, whether it
Yeah, I mean,
means it's great to have such great strength in depth in that position, but then how to utilise all that strength, it really just does come down to the fact that, granted, they are brilliant players, but is it worth playing one or more of them out of position in the back row just to squeeze another one back to their regular position in the hopes that they'll counterbalance the omission of our current 6 or 7? And I think
well, maybe, but I honestly think that Itoje is not out of position at 6.
perhaps not, but I
So
think
it's a tactic. He's
yeah,
an option at 6 if you want a heavier pack.
yeah,
But in Australia, it depends on what you want to do. If they want to impose their game, or if they want to adapt to what Australia's bringing, because
yeah,
Australia has basically a really heavy front 5, and a fairly light, ridiculously quick back row. So they play a really high tempo and they play really fast. They're probably one of the fastest teams, much faster than England. So it's what you want to do in front of them. Do you want to adapt to that by having faster players? So having like Haskell and Robshaw put in extra work, or do you want to have a heavier pack that's going to hurt them at the breakdown? I mean, physically hurt them, not technically.
I think that's when you take Laws on, to be honest. But it's as I say, I think having how Robshaw and Haskell played last Saturday, I think their position in the starting 15 should absolutely be safe. And so I don't know really what that means for the bench for the next test, because I think Itoje and Cruz belong starting at 4 and 5. And whether maybe if Itoje does come on to 6, so that Launchbury can come on. I mean, are we then bringing on Laws for
exactly.
Cruz,
I
or
think
are we
that's
actually
a given.
gonna? But I mean, do we really want to do that? Because do we not want to switch out? Say, why not have a proper I mean, I know that Itoje can play 6, and I think as imposing as a player as he is, he's great to have. But I mean, at the moment I'm
would
just
get
kind
rid
of
of Laws on the bench.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I
I
think
wouldn't have Laws on the
we
bench.
need.
I'd have a back row.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. I think
I'd have a spare
Clifford.
number. I'd have a guy that can play 7-8.
Clifford can play 7-8.
So
I think he's
Clifford,
brilliant, and I hope he is on the bench.
Exactly. That's what I'd have. I'd have Launchbury and Clifford on the bench.
I mean, moving to the backs, Yard had a fairly decent game, but I know I was quite disappointed that Noel wasn't starting. But as I understand it, that's because he was still carrying a knock.
Miles ahead. I mean, Yard's doing well, but Noel's
so again,
better.
If Noel and Watson start, then it's not to discredit Yard because he did play well, but shift him out of the 23 entirely and then bring Daly into the 23 shirt.
Into the 23 shirt, yeah. Agreed.
He can play centre or full back, or at a pinch 10 if someone gets injured or something goes terribly wrong, because he's a brilliant playmaker. He's got an absolute cannon of a boot, and he's got a fairly lethal step. And then of course, in fact, no, because is Slade injured? I should know that. Why isn't Sav here to answer these questions?
Slade's injured. Well, it doesn't matter.
I think he might
Daly.
be. Yeah, but then of course I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's who I quite like to see. I mean, there is also there's the Good and the Brown debate, because it's Brown is being. He's not bad by any means.
It's not even a debate. Good should be starting. But, I don't like the guy, but he's just so good right now.
He's been absolutely
he has to be starting.
Phenomenal.
It's a bit ridiculous that Brown is still holding on to that shirt.
I mean, granted, I've never been. There have only been, I think, 2 or 3 moments where in an England shirt I've been convinced that Good is a good option, and as that goes, that's not brilliant, because I think a couple of Six Nations ago,
but
Brown
he's done
was doing
so well with
every
Saracens.
day.
You cannot not give him a chance right now. And it's a summer tour. It doesn't matter.
We're playing on decent ground, so I think Good deserves a shot, because Brown has had a less than stellar Six Nations, a subpar season with Quins, and I think probably he just needs a good long rest, because I'd say quite a few of our players do after the World Cup and the season that's just gone. But I think
so does Robshaw.
I agree with Robshaw, and yet the shift he put in on Saturday was damn near Herculean. Because I mean, there was a video that went up of him chasing that penalty kick.
His tour to Australia, and then give him. I don't know. It's a bit weird, missing the off season, I guess, but pre-season. But just let him rest at the start of the season for Quins. They're not going to have very big objectives next season, are they? So just let him rest a little bit.
But no, I was going to say, I mean, there's the video currently that Robshaw chasing the penalty kick that Farrell kicked. It bounces off the post, and so because he's chased it, he's first to tackle Pocock, who collects.
Yeah, and he
did
on
that.
Pocock. Yeah, I saw that. And
single penalty
that really
kick,
shows how much work he's
chasing
in.
after. And so it's
great. It's a great video.
So I think again.
There's one more touch is did you see the Haskell article about Eddie Jones? So basically, he got a lot of praises for his game,
I've not
and he said it was quite funny. So he talks about the fact that Eddie Jones knows that not everyone needs to be talked to in the same way.
Yeah.
as in terms of man management, you can't motivate players, all of them in the same way. You've got to talk to different people in a different way.
Sure.
And he says some players like the stick, some like the carrot, and he says, if you've got this great Haskell quote, which is, "I'm more of a carrot man."
That's what that's from. Brilliant. Because I'd heard that quote, but I wasn't quite
So
sure.
yeah, Haskell more of a carrot man.
Hmm.
And actually, I forgot. Positive note for Australia.
Yeah.
As a Buritz, I'm pretty happy to say that Dane Haylett-Petty was awesome on the wing. It was his debut, and he used to play for Buritz.
I was quite impressed with a fair few of the Aussies. Folau, not a great game. I thought the wingers did quite well. Hooper, I thought, was really quite good, especially because he kept popping up on the frickin' wing and scoring.
Hooper was excellent. He was incredible.
It's really annoying. I don't
did you
like
see
him.
that?
He's
He was
really
the third.
good. It's
Hooper was the third Australian yards, so he made more yards than third person in the game. So most yards were made by Brown, Folau, and Hooper.
That's pretty good.
That's incredible.
Oh, was it? I'm trying to think. A similar stat with regards to tackles made. I think George Ford was second of the game.
Oh.
That might not be right.
Well, to be fair, you do have to make a lot of tackles when the opposition forward are running at you.
That's a fair point. Yeah,
because that's what happens a lot in when you're playing 10, especially when you're below 6 foot. Like Ford, you're going to be a target, and he is, and he holds pretty well, so it's not an issue for England.
Oh, brilliant.
Wait, should we move on to
Ireland,
South Africa, or is that just too obvious?
Let's see if we can. Nero has just said he's available to join, and I've got no idea how to add him to the current chat because I don't have him.
I'll just start talking about Ireland, South Africa, and I'll ask him for his.
Ireland, South Africa was an interesting prospect at the very least because I thought Ireland would give a decent account of themselves and lose in a somewhat graceful fashion. And instead what happened is they quite clearly came out to play. South Africa didn't look the team they were in the World Cup, even though the team they were in the World Cup wasn't vintage South Africa. And then suddenly the entire thing went to shit 21 minutes in when CJ Stander managed to get a red card, which I still think is mostly bullshit. I think penalty at most because it was reckless. But he's been banned for a week, and I don't know whether
I must have changed my mind 5 times about the red card.
I've seen it repeatedly.
I was thinking...
I still disagree with it.
At first, I thought it's bullshit. There's no way that's a red card because he's going for the ball and he's in the air. And then you think, what if
appalling angle to be fair?
Lambie hadn't kicked it? So what if
he dummied it instead?
He faked the kick.
Yeah.
He faked the kick and kept carrying the ball. So you've got Standard jumping in the air and turning around and landing with his butt in his face.
No, you see.
Imagine if Lambie still has the ball in his hands. That's the red card offence.
I think if those were the circumstances, though, Fred, if he dummied at least, he'd have the wherewithal.
I'm still here.
Oh shit, you're still here.
No, but we don't like you, Charlie.
Kind of here. I'm literally about to leave. I had to go and do something, but I'm just about to leave now. So, but I have to stay here because the Skype call is my call. So.
Oh right.
So I will be here, but not actually here.
Right. So that means I can't invite Nero in.
Oh, Charlie,
does he need to be invited?
Yeah, invite him.
Okay.
God, totally not completely in a.
Well, it's kind of good. It's kind of good that I jumped back in. I was about to walk out, so.
Yeah, I think.
So you are absolutely useless.
Okay, if Lambie had kept onto the ball, if he dummied the kick, I think he would have at least he would have had to have a bit of a step on him so he could sell the dummy. And I think.
Goodbye.
Hey, Sim's coming. Okay, I think yes. If he had done it while Lambie was still in possession, straight red, I agree with that. You can't just go around twatting people in the face with your ass. That's not on.
Hello.
But hey, Sim, I still think
that was a
great
introduction for you, wasn't it?
It should have been. Lambie kicks
Are we
the ball
live?
Yes, we are.
jumps to,
Nice. Hi,
charge,
everyone.
not even charge it down, just
Hi,
kind of
Sim.
block the ball, and Lambie gets a face full of cheek. And so, granted, it was an absolutely terrible angle for Stander to run on, to go for that, because even if he caught the ball, there was still the chance of him absolutely putting Lambie on his arse. But I just don't think it's a red.
In the end, in the end, I know it's not. There's no intention of running, of putting him out or anything. But in the end, he is still late.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
Guys, is that Lambie and
that's why
Stander?
I think
Yeah,
red is harsh, but I can still understand it.
Is that Lambie and Stander?
yeah, it is.
I would have gone yellow, but
Yeah, intention's not in the laws anymore, is it?
no, but
It's still reckless.
that's what I'm
It's
saying.
dangerous,
Intention
and he's
doesn't
still...
matter. You've
Oh,
got there's
Yeah.
the word that you've got to remember.
Where
is
does
duty.
where does the result come into it? Because Best tried to have a word with the ref when he was saying he was going to get a red card. That is, I think he was saying something to the effect of you not taking into account the result as opposed to the I can't remember what the wording was, but the point is, I know that if you tackle someone high or if you say dump someone, there's the difference between a yellow for landing on the back and a red for landing on the head and neck. But I wonder if the same thing is true, or how close the same thing is true, and if Lambie hadn't been knocked out, would Stander have seen the same?
Right. So that's a good question. I think I've got the answer. I'm not sure. I think so what happens is what's important. So it's the landing, for example, is more important than the intent. But then the fact that if you land on your neck, and you can land on your neck and be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So when you land on your neck, whether you're absolutely fine or you're crushed, doesn't matter. You still landed on your neck. That's a red card. That's the point. So it's the middle one. So what happened? What was intended doesn't count.
Yeah.
What happened does count, and what follows what happened does not count.
Yeah. I was going to say. I mean,
so the fact that Lambie was really hurt should not have counted.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But the fact that he was twatted in the face does count.
Yeah. I was going to mention that. I mean, you mentioned the whole landing on the head, neck, and whatever. There is a video floating around somewhere of Villy LaRue going up for a high ball and getting taken out in the air. He does land directly on his head and neck, but managed to roll out of it, and I think he got HIA'd.
That was Rob Thompson, wasn't it?
It happens. He was very lucky because it could have gone very, very ugly for him. And it turned very ugly for Lambert.
The league player who had something similar, he got driven into the ground instead, but it looks like the same neck and body movement, and he ended up paralysed. So it's...
the Alex McKinnon one in league, but if you look at the video, it doesn't look very bad.
No,
I mean, the tackle doesn't look...
What happened to LaRue looked horrendous.
Luck.
And I get that it's... So consequences can vary in every account, but... Nero, have you watched the Ireland-South Africa game in its entirety yet, or...?
I haven't watched the entirety of it yet, partly because I just can't bear to sit through that rubbish that South Africa served up. Yeah. I mean, I've watched some of the key moments. I need to get an extended highlights thing for probably about 5 minutes.
I put one on Slack
anyway,
yesterday that's about 15 or so. And it gives a fairly
From
good
what I
account
saw
of
of that game, Ireland defended very well. They had a certain tactic of, I think once they went down to 14 men, the South Africans just thought, okay, we're just going to run across the field and somehow find our way around the edge. And it was just unimaginative. And carrying, the way they carried the ball, it was just, there was no real intention to draw defenders in, get quick ball, and they just seemed lazy and off their games, which, I don't want to take anything away from Ireland because it was a brilliant performance, but I don't understand how, with those players, with that skill level that they have shown in the past, how you can... And it's just an indictment of Alistair Coetzee, really. He's taken the team backwards and he's done it in a game, which is a stunning achievement. I mean, it's just as bad as a result for South Africa as it was to lose to Japan in the World Cup. And he's completely gone against everything he's said in the build-up since he's had the job of, we're going to play a more expansive style, we're going to focus on the traditional South African strengths and still bring a more expansive edge than we have in the past, all while going through transformation. But if you look at the lineup, Jack O'Creel sitting outside of the match day 23. Jesse Creel starting on the bench. You've got a 30-year-old winger in Lavazie Mvovo who's starting, and
And
JP
Bono was
Peterson's
the
no
only
spring
good player
chicken
for South
either.
Africa.
yeah, but I think you've got two 30-plus wingers, and you're 3.5 years away from a World Cup.
Yeah, not too
Right.
bright.
Okay. So tactically, maybe not the best choice, but he was actually probably one of the best players.
Oh, sure, he might
in
have
that
very
game.
well been good in the game, but you've got a winger who's definitely been South Africa's best in Ran Combrink on the bench. Was he on the bench, actually? I'm not sure. I haven't got that fast to see if he actually came on for them in the end. But you've got Ran Combrink in your team. And just typifying Alistair Cootsey's mentality now is that now with Lambie gone for the next test, rather than bring in Jan Goosen or rather than bringing Garth April, this is after saying that South Africa's A-team was the next in pecking line for spots in the South African national team. He's gone and picked up Morné Steyn as his number 10. So I wouldn't be really surprised if all of a sudden Morné Steyn starting the third test ahead of Yankees, which would just be a travesty overall.
No.
Maybe it's some very, very, very strange tactics on a coach's part in that he's trying to lull people into a false sense of security by picking Steyn, who, I mean, someone posted recently his highlights against Leicester Tigers a couple of seasons ago, where he had an absolute
I don't know, maybe he picked
howler.
the wrong Steyn.
that was brought up
I heard somebody
more than
describe it
once.
as the worst kick performance they'd ever seen.
It was terrible. But I do kind of wonder where the logic is in bringing him into the team, especially because, he's getting on a bit. He's playing away from South Africa. As you say, it's 3.5 years to the next World Cup, and yet it does strike me as a very odd decision unless there is some kind of cannily disguised tactics behind it.
Well, put it this way: I don't think Steve Hansen would be bringing Stephen Donald into the All Blacks team any time soon.
He bloody should
no
be,
matter
though.
how many injuries there were. But he
Beaver
should
played
be.
brilliantly.
But he should be, definitely.
He played exceptionally
I think,
well.
yeah, that was as good as I've ever seen him play, which is it's stunning. At
Have you watched that whole
34,
game?
5 years after almost, he was completely unable to do anything in that final apart from nail the penalty.
Which
and
won them the World Cup,
rolling
in
back
fairness.
the years to a point where, yeah, it's so really when you look at it, he's had a pretty good career at the end of it, hasn't he?
Yeah. It's certainly one not many people can say they've had the same of. It's
definitely not.
that your super franchise beat an
From being
international
booed
team,
to be an absolute.
and there's still all that.
I was shocked because I was really hoping that they'd release a lot of the players for the match against Wales, and but they didn't release Aaron Cruden. I thought they might have started Luma Sopwanga in the test this week and released Cruden to the Chiefs for the midweek game and released Mackenzie as well, but they didn't go that way, and it turned out that it was more than enough anyway.
Where do you,
Stephen Donald? That's what we were saying earlier.
Yeah. Where do you? We've gone a fair bit. Where do you guys see this weekend going? Because we've got the same three fixtures, but Mr. Fred can try and give an account of how he thinks France will do against an Argentina. So, Argentina did only narrowly beat Italy in the end.
I thought I was going to rant a lot more about forward passes first, but I'll go for France Argentina because it should be fairly short. So basically, most of our good players are going to be on the tour because they're not good enough to be in the top teams of the top 14.
Yeah.
So basically, semi-finals are on this weekend. That means the 4 best teams are playing, but that does not mean many French players are.
Brilliant.
So, our captain, Girardeau, is good enough and is playing for Toulon, which means he's not going to Argentina. So, guess who's going to be our captain?
Who's available?
Pickemals.
I didn't hear that.
Pickemals.
Nope.
Pascal Pape.
Cleaton?
No, it's not going to be Pape. It's going to be a weirder choice.
Weirder than Pape.
It's going to be Plisson.
Say again?
It's going to be Plisson, Jules Plisson, the number 10.
Oh my God, I said that sarcastically. Plisson's going to be the captain.
Plisson is going to be captain. He has 11 caps. Is 24. He's a very decent player. I mean, he did put. You're going to laugh at him, but he did put Morné Steyn on the bench at Stade Francais for a
I
couple.
honestly think that at this stage of his career, I could put Mornay Stane on the bench, and I haven't played
And-
serious rugby for about 3
Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. So when Plisson got injured last year, when the year that they won the top 14, Plisson played the whole season. Started with Stein on the bench, then got injured, and Stein beat Toulon, and won the final. So he was really on fire for a couple of games. Obviously, it's only 2 games, but he was very, very solid. And
Fair
this
enough.
year I think he's pretty much behind Plisson again. But Stade Francais was terrible this season.
So this weekend we're going to have Mornay Stane playing, and we're going to have Plisson playing.
Yeah.
God, I'm just glad that they're not playing each other.
Oh, that'd be entertaining, I reckon. But
You
it's, I
should be
mean,
glad they're not playing. Yeah, you shouldn't be glad. It would be really funny if they played each other.
it's
Actually, yeah, because then I could both watch neither of them at the same time.
well, you're not going. Oh, shame. It's, I mean, okay, but Fred, it's Argentina beat Italy by 6 points. It was 30-24. Italy without Parise,
Yeah, I saw the
without
second
Castro.
half, and I was not impressed by Argentina.
So yeah, how do you see a very, very,
I have no idea.
very
I've
understrength
got
France
no
team
clue
doing?
what this French team is able to do. Absolutely no clue. So we're going to have to wait and see. And usually in history, when we've gone to Argentina, we have lost by a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
history's not with us. A few years ago,
2007
I
all
think
over
it was
again.
the first year that Argentina was going to go into, join the Tri-Nation to make it a rugby championship. France decided, let's tour Argentina, even though 30 of their best players are not going to play because they're going to be in the US training for the upcoming rugby championship, and we still got smashed by a team of 19-year-olds. So
It'll be
yeah,
interesting
we
to
don't
see
do
what
well.
they can do.
Oh,
And
just
that
to,
game's what, about 10:30 at night, isn't it?
something like no, it's not that late.
so-
It's about 8 o'clock.
No, yeah,
No,
it's
no, you're right. It's
I
10
think
past
it's
10.
on at no, it's on
10 past 10?
in the late afternoon in Argentina. So in England
Oh,
it'll
right.
probably be like 10 or 11.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. 10 past.
That's not too bad.
It's still quite late. Oh no, wait, hang on. That's on the Sunday, not Saturday. Huh?
Is it Sunday evening? That's a
Yeah,
bit-
Sunday evening rather than
Yeah, I'm definitely
suppose-
not going to watch that.
Fair enough. This is just a very quick tangent related to nothing. But as with Ireland, the main squad last weekend, one of their players in the under-20s World Championship has been red carded. Clearly, they're trying to emulate their elders. I found that quite interesting.
Yeah, so
Let's
it
have
is
a straw
Sunday
poll.
night. It is at
Yeah.
10 past 10.
Quick straw poll, guys. Who's going to get sacked first, Warren Gatland or Alistair Coetzee?
Could see
Yeah.
100%. Saffers get angry really quickly.
Yeah.
Gatland's going to be at Wales for the next 20 years.
It's because he got
And in the newest edition of
I mean, it's only guessing. I'm only guessing, but it seems like Gatland's got the job.
yeah, because he's contracted
Forever.
to 2019. He got a 3-year contract
Is he?
extension recently. So it's
So it's basically more that the Welsh Rugby Union can't afford to sack him.
quite possible. Well, maybe they just can't afford to buy out Die Young from Wasps.
This is something very different, but I'm looking at the French website L'Equipe because I wanted to see what time the game was, and
Yeah.
there's an article about Le Cafia, and I'm not sure. I think rugby's not really not their priority because it says Le Cafia trained again today except for the whole day.
Maybe someone just had problems translating it, or yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
I
weird.
am translating it, but
Oh, right.
that's what it says. So I'm
Jesus.
thinking they're not putting a lot of effort into writing on rugby.
Fair enough. So you can't call that game. Nero, how do you reckon Wales will fare against New
absolutely
Zealand?
can't call the game.
What's that?
What I wanted to talk about, because France
Fair
Argentina, there's not much to say before
Yeah.
the game. Apart, I just wanted to mention the fact that Plisson was going to be captain.
Oh, okay.
But what I wanted to talk about was, even though we've already talked about Wales New Zealand, was just the forward pass incident,
Yeah.
because it
Oh,
really pissed me off.
Here comes
Um,
the salt.
Not
No,
the
it's-
fact that
no,
Wayne
I
Barnes goes
agree.
to TMO. not the fact that he goes to TMO and overrules the decision. I mean, he's got the right to do it. I don't see why, but let him do his job. He's taking the responsibility. What I'm pissed about is that he can't see what that is really, really obviously not a forward pass.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many people don't understand basic physics. It's incredible.
Well,
Does it
the
make
worst
you
thing is,
feel
it's
at
not even
all
about
better?
understanding physics, really.
Sorry?
Does it make you feel at all better that I think the fourth or fifth try New Zealand scored was one of the most blatant forward passes I've ever seen, and it didn't get called back. I know I don't mean in the case
No, but
that
it doesn't make up for it. I mean,
it does
it's
a
shit
bit.
when a forward pass doesn't get seen, but I'd rather have a forward pass that doesn't get seen
It flew
rather
forward by at
than a
least
decision
5
like
yards.
this, because it's just so blatant. I mean, you can see his hands going backwards. You can
Yeah, I
see the
mean,
pass. You can see the way that you can see the trajectory of the ball. He's at full pace as well. It's really basic, and it's amazing how many people don't understand how that works. And I'm pretty sure Wayne Barnes does understand how it
I do
works.
think it
that's
is a.
the worst thing about it, is the fact that it happens every week. You see it every week, and tries get given
no.
pretty much every week for that. And Wayne Barnes has given lots of tries like that in the past, except for some reason, he's just gone against it this time,
Yeah.
and it's inexplicable. And
There
there's
must be a reason that we don't
about it.
see, as in, he must have seen because he asked for the TMO, and the TMO shows because they've got the power to put it on the big screen.
Screw showed the
That's what
TMO
happened.
straight up tells him that the try
I
should be
know,
awarded.
but what it must be something else. So what the image that he must have seen on a big screen was either there must have been something about it that made him think wrong.
Well, the one that
Because
we see
he
on
had
the
otherwise
TV
a good
screen,
game, and it just came out of nowhere. And it's such a weird decision.
the one that we have on the TV screen is the one that gets shown on the big screen as well.
Yeah.
So the replays that we get shown are the replays that get shown on the
that's
big
what I
screen
thought.
too.
Yeah.
And it's just an egregious error, and the reason why it's so egregious is that it's such an obvious one, and he's got plenty of opportunity to make the right decision, and he just fails to do it. And it could happen in a key game. In mistakes like that, there needs to be consistency. You've got to make sure that all your referees, especially at this level of the game, with that level of technology, are able to make the right decision when they've got so much time. I mean, everyone bagged on Juba in the World Cup.
Yeah, and we're talking about one of the best refs in the world, and you think if he makes that mistake, that huge mistake,
especially with the benefit of TMO, with the benefit of the TMO just there, and and still makes the wrong decision. It just can't be allowed to happen. And I mean, next thing you know, it happens in a different game, for instance,
World Cup semi-final, for
game,
instance,
and it makes a difference to the result. Pardon?
World Cup semi-final, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say it happens in the game against Ireland against South Africa on the weekend instead. That JP Peterson, rather than inexplicably deciding to run upright into contact, decides to throw a pass in, and it's a pass that's flat, and it gets called back forward, and it makes a difference between a South Africa win or a humiliating loss. It'd be a pretty big talking point, wouldn't it? And in the end, what we have now is it's in a wide win, and nobody really, everyone always says, it doesn't make a difference to the result. But the thing is, mistakes like that, if you let them go and don't sort them out, then you're just opening yourself up to having it happen in another game, and then maybe you'll be tighter that time. Maybe it'll make a difference to the result.
I agree. I mean, that decision in itself doesn't matter very much. What matters is that, like you said, that there's consistency, that everyone understands it. And I'm more pissed about the fact that on the subreddit, some people didn't understand why it wasn't a forward pass.
There were people who were saying that was a forward pass. There were people saying that.
There were, yeah.
That's stunning to me.
There were. Or no, there was one it was really weird. I mean, it's not even weird. You can understand where it comes from. Just general ignorance of physics. But you had one who said, but yeah, of course, if you're gonna something like, if you're running forward and you pass backward and it still goes forward, it means you didn't pass backward enough. And I was thinking, if that is a possibility, make the rules like this. Make the backwards pass. In the frame of reference of the pitch and not the player. You could do that, but that would be
Well,
insane.
the problem is that if you decided to run in a straight line and pass directly behind yourself, if you're running fast enough, that ball will still go forwards.
Yeah, of course it does. That's why it's so funny. That and the Total Rugby video that's been shown where they do exactly what you just said is really good, and I think it should be shown to every single person who comes near a rugby pitch or wants to put it on TV, because it's just so important to understand that it's quite a simple thing. Yeah,
But what I really
seems
don't
like a lot of
understand
people don't get it.
about that decision is why Wayne Barnes decided to disallow that try when he gives those tries every week.
Yeah, exactly. When he's had this situation and not made the mistakes probably hundreds of times. It's just incredible. I mean, there's no explanation for it. That's the weirdest bit. And obviously I wanted to rant about another one that put and you were saying I'm really salty for this, but that put this meme of Barnes giving the letting the forward pass go in 2007 and not letting this one go for the All Blacks. And I thought that was amazing. It's like it's 9 years ago, and Craig Joubert's done everything to make up for that. And yeah,
I'm not even going to get into the salt. I don't really eat too much salt. I don't really add it to my diet unnecessarily. So, the most interesting thing for me about that game, though, was that it was tight for most of the game. But you always see a lot of now people saying, "Oh, Wales played a great 60 minutes," and 60 minutes they were in it and they were the better team and stuff like that. You hear comments like that, and at some point, whenever you hear it so often, and you think, when did we start playing 60-minute rugby games? Something's gone wrong there.
We were saying something similar earlier. We were saying that they were very good for 60, 70 minutes. And then the difference is that is not just fitness, it's the fact that New Zealand can play this same tempo. It's easier for them. For Wales, Wales playing that game is incredibly difficult. They manage it for a while.
One of the things like this.
The difference is that New Zealand can do it for much longer because it's more natural to them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And with any sport where tempo has importance, like for instance rugby, or you look at football, and or you look at even American football, which is a bit of a weird example because it's all stop-start. But what teams will do, and if they play a higher tempo and they're looking to stretch you, they're trying to tire you out as well, so that later on in the game they have those gaps and they can punish you in a way that they couldn't earlier on in the game. So where those, and it's disingenuous to say as well that you look at the score and use that to explain the game. Where in the first half, when you rewatch it up to 60 minutes, and there's a number of things that could have gone differently. For instance, errors that are made, balls that are dropped, knock-ons, for instance, that if they don't happen, and as players become more polished and they gel more as a unit, then they don't happen, and the result could even turn out massively differently. For instance, one of the things that Wales really should have punished New Zealand on is a centre scrum minute from the half time. How you don't score from there when you get a clean ball from the bottom of the scrum, I don't understand. But you've got to be more clinical than that. And when you look at it the other way, though, New Zealand were really profligate as well with their ball in hand. And there were a couple of times where Naholo goes for the line rather than having two players on the side supporting.
Yeah, Naholo did quite a few mistakes there. I mean, he kind of made up for them with a good try. And
yeah, I think he ran about 185 meters with the ball, didn't he, overall, which is stunning at 185 meters in any rugby game, especially an international. And there's bags of talent there. I think he's just trying a little bit too hard, a little bit anxious to impress.
He's just not used to Test rugby just yet. But it seems like it'll come for him.
I think.
I mean, I don't know if it's in the same vein of what you're saying, but we were, or I was at least thinking that the final score doesn't reflect the game. I think, given that it's a closer game, so it's very obvious that New Zealand are the clear winners in the end because they were the better team on over 80 minutes, and there were at no point during the game was Wales better than New Zealand. They were just playing the same level for most of the game. But yeah, when you see I think it was 39 points, you think that looks like a thrashing, and there was a missed try. I mean, a try that wasn't awarded.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I mean,
but in the end,
just to
it's
I mean,
just it was 5 minutes floodgates open at the end, and
I do
that
still
really
feel the
killed
need
Wales. I mean,
to
it
point
puts on a
out
massive score.
that while there was a try that was scored that shouldn't have been awarded, there was also a try that was awarded that shouldn't have been. And I know that, again, it'd be better if none of those things
Which
happened.
try was that?
Which one was that?
I can't remember what try that was.
I'm having trouble loading. I think using Skype is a...
I'm going to put it on my TV right now, and if these are porkies you're telling me, I'm going to have to call
there
you
is
out on it.
no, there is a try. I think Ben Smith makes the pass around the halfway mark, and it's
Yeah.
the ball flies forwards about 5 or 10 yards, and it's not in a case of he's
You
running so
do know how
fast.
ridiculous 5 or 10 yards sounds, right? That 5 or 10 yards is.
No, seriously,
Which
the
try scorer
ball
was it? Second
flies
half
I mean,
or first?
so far.
10 yards forward can still be backwards if
Okay, just
Ben Smith
the-
runs faster than 40 yards a second, which is happens because Ben
Okay,
Smith.
fine. New Zealand was
Okay, so
attacking
I'm
left
pulling
to
it up on my
right. I
TV
don't know.
now.
Okay, Nero, I don't know which half it was, but New Zealand are attacking left to right.
I think that's the first half.
I have absolutely no memory of this.
Yeah, I think it's the first half that New Zealand went left to right because that Reece Webb scored the try on the left end. Okay, so
Yeah.
first half they scored the try from Naholo, which was the one where the counter-attack, so Ben Smith counter-attacked, and is that the one you're thinking of?
Possibly.
Ben Smith counter-attacks, he throws it to Cruden, and Cruden passes it. Okay, I'm going to pull that up one moment.
Yeah, Cruden put it on the boot for Surveyor.
Oh, you're thinking of a different one to me then. I thought that you might have been...
That was the first try, very first try.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the other one, the counter-attack where they kicked the ball to Ben Smith and Ben Smith ran it back.
It's
Okay, so I've got that one on the screen now. Okay, so Ben Smith's running with the ball now. They've kicked it to him. I've got it in slow motion, so he catches it at the 22, he runs. He's at the halfway now. He passes it. That's backwards out of the hands. It travels forwards, but it's gone backwards out of his hands.
I'll have to have a look later. Yeah, I'm having no luck loading this up.
His hands are pointing backwards. Yeah, he passed it to Cruden, so it's at 17 minutes, 30 seconds in the game time. He runs forward. He passes it just short of the Welsh 10-metre line. The ball floats over the 10-metre line to Cruden, but his hands are going backwards, and it's the way he's running forwards.
I'll take your word for it then.
Yeah, and the pass is backwards out of his hands.
Yeah, we'll have
It's one of those ones.
I don't have the video.
It's much more of a forward pass than the one that Barnes gave, though. I'll definitely give you that.
No, but that one was never forward.
Yeah. Cruden was furious. I can imagine. I mean, if that had happened to me as a player, I'd have probably got a yellow card. Yeah, I think I definitely.
It's incomprehension. I mean, the thing is, you seem to have played at a decent amateur level, but for me, who plays at the shittest possible level, I'm used to referees not knowing what a knock on is. It's happened before. And I'm not even kidding. I had this Italian ref the one time that, our winger picked the ball up and went over our 5-metre line to put it down because he was under too much pressure, and he said that was a knock on. And no one understood, not the other team, no one understood. He said, that was a knock on. And so he gave them a 5-metre scrum, which ended up being the right decision, but for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised what you get on the weekend. So, yeah, you're pretty much used to shutting up when you get something that ridiculous. But at this level...
The one thing that I'm most interested to see out of the New Zealand-Wales game this weekend, though, is how New Zealand shore it up in midfield, because I know that they had the way that Wales are bringing a lot of pressure on with their line speed, and Cruden was trying to take that pressure away with his kicking game, which worked to an extent, and maybe Wales will try and adjust to counter the kicking game, which will give them a little bit more space. But I thought that Crotty didn't really do much in terms of getting Fekitoa out wider. He was trying to come back in on the angle and try and find a weak shoulder, which worked to an extent, but it didn't really help him getting Vitalik into the game in a ball-carrying way. And then the other big criminal for New Zealand in this game, Luke Romano. Luke Romano had a terrible game. I saw in some New Zealand media that they said he was the best forward in the first half. And I can only assume then that they weren't watching any of the other 7. Well, for New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
that they weren't watching any of New Zealand's other 7 forwards, because all Romano did was carry the ball aggressively. Fair enough. He didn't add anything in the set piece. He was a liability at the line-out time. Gave away penalty after penalty, lying on the ruck, not rolling away, and generally didn't add much to their game other than throw himself about. And it's an indictment, really. When you look at the timestamp, I think Patrick Tuipulotu comes on at around 61 minutes gone into the game. And at that stage, New Zealand are losing by 3 points. Romano goes off, and I think Tuipulotu, he makes a big hit for a turnover. He steals a couple of lineouts, one of which led to the non-try. He puts through the offload for Kieran Reid's try as well. In 20 minutes, he had about twice the impact that Romano had in 60. I'd be very surprised if we see Romano starting this week, which is moot really, because if Sam Whitelock's fit, he won't start anyway. But I think Romano's living on borrowed time as an All Black, and it'll be interesting to see if he's still out there and whether New Zealand can get Wales to sit back a little bit now that Cruden's used that kicking game in that way.
How do you reckon the game is going to play out over the full 80?
I think New Zealand will be more polished now, but it'll be interesting to see, without Charlie Ngatai there, how they can... the game definitely... Beauden Barrett added a lot as well when he came on for Surveyor, who was the other big useless point in the New Zealand team. But it'll be interesting for me to see how they line up, because if they don't go with Surveyor and they do put Naholo onto the left wing and start with Barrett or Dag, that will take some of the weight away from the midfield, bringing that second player into the line. And Dag's been in sensational form, so Barrett or Dag, either one of the two will add a lot more in terms of playmaking that Crotty doesn't give you, and neither does Feki Toa at the moment. I don't think Charlie Ngatai is going to make the game, which is sad in itself, but it'll be interesting to see how the second playmaker adds the difference, because Cruden has he's got at his very best when he's got a second playmaker which lets him drift into the 13 channel. He'll identify a mismatch like he did against the prop, and he'll fix the outside defender with a dummy and drift through the gap. And when he does that, the support play is brilliant, and that adds a lot in terms of try-making opportunities. So I think it's something to look out for, especially if they can get that second playmaker on there.
Yeah, so how... obviously New Zealand are going to win it, but what do you reckon?
I think it'll be a similar-ish scoreline, maybe a little wider, but I think the game will be a lot clearer. There won't be as much of the tension, I think, this time round. I'd go by New Zealand by, I think, 20, 25 points. I'm a bit gutted that they won so wide in the end, because I was really looking forward to betting on them with the spread this week. I thought they might win about 7 to 10 points, and I was gutted when they got the late tries, because it means that the spread won't really change. It'll be around 20 to 25 points again. So don't bet on New Zealand or Wales if you're listening to this. That's just a toss-up, really.
No, I agree with your final
spread, not with
score.
Wales. Yeah. Well, how does everybody else think it's going to go?
New Zealand by, let's say, 4 tries to 1, maybe 4 tries to 2.
I think it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, North's not available now, is he, either?
No, he did his hamstring.
And he played a very good game, so it's really it's a big loss.
So who's going to be playing for Wales on the wing? Is it going to be another one of those guys that played against the Chiefs?
Is it going to be Tom James? I think it's going to be Tom James. Is that the name of the guy?
Yeah, I think when I look at it now and look at the fact they're going to be fatigued as well, and that Faletau played a lot, and that Warburton's played a fair bit as well, and he hasn't been really playing before we came on tour. I don't know how much it's going to take out of them, but it's not going to help, considering they were already flagging in the last 20 against New Zealand, and it was quite a contact-filled game against the Chiefs as well. A lot of Wales attacking, falling onto big hits from the Chiefs. So I think it's going to wear them down. It might even end up being a bit wider than 25 points, and it wouldn't surprise me. But hopefully it will be entertaining anyway.
Yeah.
I think it will be. I mean, this game was really entertaining. And I think, should we wrap this up? I've managed to find the clip, and Ben Smith's pass is fine.
Okay, then.
Have you guys already spoken about Australia and England? By the
Yeah,
way.
Yeah,
we spoke for about
we went
3/4
in
of an
order
hour.
of the games as they happened.
Ah, okay. What did you think about the scrum analysis? Lots of scrum analysis has been going on
I don't
post
know.
game.
That's all the Aussies trying to
Maybe
do what
Not
they
looked at
did
it, to
last
be
year at the
honest.
World Cup. It's hilarious from the Aussie pundits trying to say that our the Vunipola's going in at the scrum sideways. Where what is it? Holmes,
well,
the Aussie tight
I
head.
looked at the
He's no, the Aussie tight head is
yeah.
like sideways. So when Vunipola starts pushing forwards into his side, he kind of gets turned into him. So he
I
pushes
was
the Aussie the
looking
right way.
yeah.
But it's that no,
I was looking
it's
more at the other side, the Dan Cole side,
oh,
and it did look to me like they had a bit of a point. But maybe is that just like their prop being? I think they said as well their prop was just a bit too inexperienced and should have been able to handle it,
maybe,
and that
but
hopefully he'll do better next
it's
time. But just because they had top-down camera as well,
yeah.
didn't they?
Well, I
Which did
think
show I think.
both loose
But who
heads were
really
dropping
cares
their
about scrummers? Why
binds.
can't we just go
But
golden oldies all the way through and
yeah,
just do away with the whole farce?
it's
Scrummaging is important, but cheating at scrummaging is being good at scrummaging. I mean, it's
no, I don't agree
Yeah,
with.
that's what I
let's
think
be
the point
honest.
is. Yeah.
I think that's bollocks, and I think some of the rules are actually trying to chase that away, especially some of the new not engagement laws, but the laws about where you can stand, when you have to use the ball. I think a few of the new laws are trying to make it so it's harder to cheat and where it's more beneficial to just play off an available rule, play off an available ball rather than try and milk some bogus penalty.
Who's the referee this week?
For England,
Is it Juba?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we've got Nigel Owens the
Okay. Well,
week after.
he's normally quite good and even. So well, Australia are up against it, aren't they?
I reckon.
It'll be interesting to see how they line up. But I thought that Checker made a big error with his team selection last week.
Yeah.
With
Well,
his bench.
are they now down to? It's. I know Pocock's injured. Are but have they lost one of their back row
Well-
or two of their starting back row?
Eddie Jones doesn't know that Pocock's injured.
Doesn't it?
He thinks he's going to play, yeah. But Eddie Jones is adamant that Pocock's going to line up at number 8, which I think is probably a bit facetious. But I think they've lost Rob Horn. I think that he got quite a bit of a bad one. I think he had a head injury, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
So that's the winger gone. And I don't think anybody else is injured from the back line. It's the Krevy and Kurudrani were fine. Phipps was okay. Foley wasn't injured, and
Folau
Petty and
was-
Folau. Yeah, none of the rest of the backs are injured.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier that Haylett Petty was awesome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, he added a lot in terms of being a second fullback in a way. He's got a big boot and he's safe under the high ball. But it just brings to me like a lot of the Aussie backs are square pegs or circle pegs or square pegs, however you want to put it, in different shaped holes. You've got a fullback who's not really a fullback. You've got a right wing who's not really a right wing. You've got a left wing who's kind of an inside centre. You end up playing Liliafano God knows where. And you've got 2 13s playing in the centre, really. And it just makes you think that Checkers erred in his selection by going with that 6-2 bench when Dean Mum didn't really do an awful lot when he came on, apart from steal that one line out against Toje, which was quite impressive. I think it was probably thrown a bit too low, maybe. But it's going to be interesting to see how they rejig it around, whether they go with Liliafano at 12 and drop Kurudrani or Karevi. I thought Karevi added a lot more than Kurudrani did. But it's going to be good to see who they can add on the wing as well. I think they should particularly go for Reece Hodge off the bench. He might not be their best overall back outside of the ones that started, but he can play at 10, he can play at 12, he can play at 15 or on either the wings as well. And
what did you think of
55 to 60 meters.
What did you think of Folau
What was
at
that, sorry?
15 on last week? Do you reckon he should still be at 15, or do you reckon he should actually get moved inside to the centre?
I don't think he should play either, to be honest.
Oh, really?
I think their best way of using him is as a roving winger.
Oh, okay.
So you play him on the right wing or on the left wing, and you use him off the shoulder of the 10,
have
so
him
you can bring him
support
into the midfield to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't think his boot's particularly good enough.
Is this thing still
to
going?
play 15
Hello, Charlie. You're back. Sav.
which
Yeah. It's
How are you still alive?
We're,
Is this over?
we're trying to wrap up soon, but it kind of keeps. I'm not a very good moderator for this.
This is like I've literally
No,
gone away.
coming from you, that's pretty exceptional.
Bloody hell. Okay. So this is quite a long one, eh?
Yeah, it's
But
it's
yeah,
up
I
to an
don't like
hour and
Falau
10
at
so
15.
far.
I don't think he has the boot.
Adam Ashley Cooper's better.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the big thing about Falau is you saw that one bit where was it Foley misses touch when they're 10-0 up. Foley misses touch with his penalty,
yeah, I think
and
so.
then they boot the ball back to Falau, and Falau kicks it out on the full. And in the blink of an eye, your number 10 and your 15 have cost you, what, 45, 50 metres of territory and the ball. And those are just the kind of mistakes you can't make at that level. It lets England back into the game to accumulate some points, cut the lead down, and next thing you know, it's 10-9, and England are pushing forward and looking strong, where you were 10-0 with a penalty that's going to take you into their 22 as well. And it's little moments like that that could change the game. I mean, if Australia get into the 22, they were looking quite imperious at that stage, maybe score another 3 or even 5 or 7 points, and it's what, 13, 15, 17 point gap, and England players start to doubt themselves.
Yeah.
But you miss touch, you kick it out on the full, and you lose the momentum, you lose the impetus, really.
How do you how do you guys reckon it'll go in Melbourne? England or Australia to win the second test?
Australia to win it by a small margin to make it 1-1.
God, I hope not.
I'd like to see the teams before I made my pick, because I just don't see what Cheika was trying to do in that game, and I really want to see if he picks Ben McCalman at 8 now, because I do think he has to.
I thought you had. I read
Has the
something
team
that
been picked?
it was done. Let me check, but it seems to me that it's done. That McMahon's going to play 8.
Sorry,
Yeah.
McCalman.
No, McMahon.
McMahon.
Sean.
McMahon
Oh God, really?
to start for injured Pocock.
Well, I think there's no balance in their back row, which is the big problem for
There's
me.
there's the team. So it'll be Slipper. So CO got dropped.
Yeah,
It'll
I
be
thought that was going
Slipper,
to happen.
Moore, Kepu, Arnold, Sam Carter,
Yeah.
Fardy, Hooper, McMahon.
Okay,
And
so
then
a couple of
Phipps,
comments
Foley,
about that.
Horn, Karevi, Karanjani, Haylett, Petty, full out. So same back line.
Okay, so Horn's back.
And we've got 3 backs again in the. No. It says replacements 3 to be omitted. I don't know what the hell that means.
That means they haven't
So how many
nailed
has he
down the
picked?
final.
Has he got
So,
9
yeah.
and then?
So he's got. Yeah, he's got 2 number 8s in his replacements. So I don't know how it.
One
Parlo
of those
and
will
McCall.
go. Yeah, I
And
think
Gill.
one of
So
them
he's
will
got
go.
3 back rows. And he's got Frisbee, Lilifano, and Luke Morahan. And I think
Okay,
Luke Morahan is amazing, and he should be in the 23 shirt.
Who's the other back row? So you said there's 3. There's Parlu, there's McCalman, and one other.
Gill.
Liam Gill.
Oh, Liam Gill's in the squad again.
Yeah.
Well, if they were going to
I'm
pick him in the
surprised. I
squad, they
thought
should have
he
played
was
him from the
good.
start, because he is their best back rower.
Clearly,
I don't know
Cheika
if-
doesn't
no,
want to
I
break
don't know
up
if he's
the Pooper partnership.
The only reason that Liam Gill hasn't been picked more recently is, I think, because he's already signed for Toulon, and he leaves at the end of this Super Rugby season, and he signed, I think, for 3 years or 2 years. So I don't understand. If you're going to put him in the squad, you may as well play him. He's a good ball runner. He's got skills, ball in hand. He's brought a poor Reds team up the table in recent weeks by just leading them by example.
So
He's good over the ball.
would you play him at number 8?
I
even
play him
though-
at 7.
No, yeah, but you're not going to take Hooper out.
Why
I
not?
would take Hooper out and play.
Don't
Liam
take
Gill.
Hooper out.
I think
Well, you know, the problem with Hooper is that he's seagulling along the sides, and he's giving no balance to the back row. He's going on the end of moves and scoring tries, but yeah, your winger can do that, and it's your winger's job to do it. Instead, England are overpowering your back row, which is already unbalanced, and your one area of superiority was supposed to be the breakdown, and they've just monstered you over it.
so. Who do you think is gonna?
Nah.
I mean, the only change I know for certain at the moment is that Ford will be at 10, Farrell at 12, which seemed to work a lot better when they took Burrow off.
Just on Farrell, I only heard him speak for the very first time on the weekend.
It keeps happening.
I don't know how I've escaped that. And
Have you
he
not heard
must have had
Ford
a
speak
lobotomy.
yet? No, no. Have you not heard? He and
No,
Ford
I haven't.
sound
I don't
like
really watch
brothers.
interviews, to be
They're,
honest.
they're. I mean, aside from being the two most northern people you've ever seen, they both. I mean, I think they grew up on the same street, to be honest. Because they've been playing
I'm
age grade
definitely the
rugby
next question that
since.
anyone asks me, I'm going to answer in an Owen Farrell voice.
But okay, fine. Is Sav still here, or has he abandoned us again? I think he's abandoned
I
us again.
don't know.
So
Maybe he's here. Uh,
fine. So, are you still on the fence about who's going to win then?
like I said to you guys before the series started, I wouldn't have been surprised to see either team win 3-0.
Yeah.
England definitely got the advantage. And I think that it's just bad for it'd be
Yeah.
tough for Australia to play that badly in the last 60 minutes of the game twice in a row, and they must have done some things to counteract it. And I don't expect some of England's players who had great games to perform to that particular level again, just purely because it seemed like they were playing well above their usual level. And I think they are going to come down to back to the mean a little bit.
Well,
So it'll be a
let's hope
tight
not.
game, but I do expect England to win.
It's I'm gonna.
I expect England to win just purely on the back of their better goal kicking. I think that the two teams are quite equal, and it's just going to be the fact that Farrell being a much better goal kicker than Foley
Fair
is
enough.
going to probably take England out to about a 6 to 9 point win.
I
Yeah.
think
Can we
England
wrap it
will.
up? I need
Yeah,
to go.
England will win because the alternative will upset me. Last thing to cover: Ireland against South Africa. Who's going to win? Why is it Ireland?
Well, whoever wins, Alistair Coetzee is going to lose.
But no, honestly, okay. For 60 minutes, Ireland had 14 men, and they played against a terrible South African side with a terrible ref. They managed to get away
It was
with a win.
fantastic, and
It was an incredible.
it just shows.
I honestly, I started off dreading the match, and then the red card was given, and I thought it had turned into a nightmare. And then by the last 20 minutes of the match, the last 10 minutes, I was jumping up and down and screaming like nothing else. And I don't often get behind a
Well,
team
you guys
like
will
that,
remember
but that was great. I thought.
that. Yeah, it was, and in the previews, I think did we do a preview pod?
I didn't.
One of the leading candidates for the "Are we sure he's good?
Oh,
Are we
Sexton.
sure he's good?" really award. It was Johnny Sexton, and it's just
Jackson
that,
was
I was saying
brilliant.
that Johnny Sexton seemed like he was, and I saw that little shimmy and the chip ahead, and it was really only Faf de Klerk being really, really fast that saved South Africa there. And it just shows what you can do by adding or changing something. Just because someone's been a good player for you in the past, and he has been for many years, doesn't mean that you don't try other things. And just now being forced into doing something other than Madigan might really have looked the Irish into something a lot better there. And maybe, Johnny Sexton in a vacuum is still the better player, but you've had Sexton for years. You've seen what Sexton's done. Maybe just give him a chance. Keep is it Paddy Jackson?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, keep him out there, and let's see what he can do again. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they repeat the trick, and it'll be really, really embarrassing for South Africa if Ireland can take a series win in 2 games.
I reckon they'll do it.
With the injury.
Yeah, we'll see. I bet on South Africa to win the second one, and we'll see on the third one. So same as for Australia.
Well, really, for Coetzee, he should play. He should bring Jack O'Cree to the, and then he should be into the team as well. The back line that I would like to see them come out with is de Klerk at 9, and then Yankees at 10, De Allende at 12, and then Mapu at 13. Have Creel at fullback, Willie LaRue on the left wing, and bring Roon Combrink onto the right wing, or switch the wings around. And I think that would be a lot better balance to the team. It'll get all of your best backs onto the pitch at the same time as well. But South Africa being South Africa, they won't do that.
Well, I reckon. So you will think
Right.
that.
Do you want to hum the music?
I don't remember the music, so I'm afraid I can't.
No, nor do I. But
the only
Sim's
music
done
I
it not long ago, so
right.
he's gonna be humming the music.
Oh yeah, I do. I just hum it out and just.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, so somebody raps over usually, don't they? Who does the rapping normally?
Charlie does the outro music.
Oh yeah, and coming soon may be a new podcast from us called "Line Break the Wheel," in honor of when Richie McCaw had that speech where he, it was what was it? England, Wales, South Africa, Australia, they're all the same. This one's on top and that one's on top and on it spins and so on. You know,
All the
very
spokes of the
Daenerys-like. Previewing and reviewing Game of Thrones, maybe.
Maybe.
Coming
And
Possibly.
maybe Star
I
Wars
won't get
if we
into
ever
that.
get
I'll
into
let you
that.
two do that.
Pretty much, if we can be asked, really.
Well, now we
Predicated
know
on
that
that.
I'm capable of actually doing a recording, assuming this one hasn't completely turned to shit, which is debatable at this rate anyway. It's
You're assuming a lot there.
I am, yes, but I'm trying to remain hopeful. Watching just very briefly.
Guys, when's this ending?
Well, at the moment you finish doing the bloody music.
I mean, I was doing the music.
Yeah, do it
but
again.
You kept doing
Do
two.
Can I-
do do do. But no,
Just
but
saying,
literally,
Ramos, that was line
can't-
break rugby.
Sav, say goodbye.
Right, I'm out.
Are we
I'm
sure
gonna hang
we're
up
really
in a
streaming?
second.
So see
Nero,
you all
say
next
goodbye.
time.
Fred, say goodbye.
See you all next time.
I was Ed.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And
I
then
was
press,
Charlie.
Do I press stop streaming now?
That was Fred.